Right, 24 January 2021, and today I want to quickly take you through the situation that is happening in Zimbabwe, especially in ZANU-PF, and also among the top political elite in Zimbabwe. So last week, we saw the death of 4 cabinet ministers, and there was a lot of speculation as to why these ministers have died. So we had SB Moyo, who passed away first. Then we had the Manicaland Provincial Minister, Ellen Gwaradzimba. So that is SB Moyo there. We had Ellen Gwaradzimba, who died also. We had Zimondi, who died also last week. And you can see that this has shocked many people in Zimbabwe. We had Bigimatiza, who also died. So many people were shocked, and there was an air of expectation among Zimbabweans. Many Zimbabweans wanted to know if suddenly all the ZANU-PF ministers are going to die. But today I want to show you what caused the death among the ZANU-PF MPs and also ministers, why they died, and what is going to happen in the near future. And also, I want to show you what Idi Mnangagwa needs to do given the current situation. The situation we have right now in Zimbabwe is very, very bad. We are on the verge of a total political meltdown. That is a situation where there could be a breakdown of government. This is where we are now. And I'm not just talking of government. This could also happen at the side of the opposition. We are at the point where you could end up with no leaders, especially given the mistakes that were made in December. So if you look at the case of General Chiwenga and SB Moyo, there are reports that they went to Victoria Falls and had a meeting. They also met there with Rujege. In fact, General Chiwenga had 15 family members at Vic Falls in December. And SB Moyo was staying in a hotel, I think it's called Victoria Falls Hotel. That is where he was staying. And the sad part is General Chiwenga was not yet in Victoria Falls, according to the article that is at myzimbabwe.co.zw. He arrived later. And SB Moyo was staying in the presidential suite at that hotel. And he made way for General Chiwenga. That means General Chiwenga went into a hotel room where SB Moyo was staying. And obviously, if SB Moyo had coronavirus at that time, it means General Chiwenga also got coronavirus from the same room, because coronavirus is very strange. It does not wash off easily. So if you're in a room and someone comes in the same room after you, it's likely that that person also caught the coronavirus. So if you look at that situation, what it means is that SB Moyo, General Chiwenga, Rujege, all of them in the Vic Falls, they had this plan that they had. They were minding their own business, thinking that life is going to go on as usual. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. SB Moyo ended up coming back. And as you know, that coronavirus has got an incubation period or a window period of about 28 to 30 days. That is what happened. And he ended up passing away before they could implement whatever plans they had came up with. You can also see, so that was the first mistake obviously made by senior ZANU-PF leaders, a meeting there in Victoria Falls. We also had the Central Committee of ZANU-PF, which met on 30 December, and only 5 people were allowed from each province. What this means is that you brought all these people, let's say 70 to 80 or up to 100 people at ZANU-PF, and these people are starting to get sick as we speak. So ZANU-PF is not only going to lose the top leadership, they're also losing people at the lower ranks. And this was a mistake that was made within ZANU-PF. So we've taken a look at the people who died. Now let's look at the people who got sick. There was this party here. If you look on the screen, Monica Mchangwa had a party, and you can see people like Nick Mangwana smiling there broadly. And then you can see Bigima Tiza on the left. He passed away. And you can see that on the right, I think that's Ziambi Ziambi. Ziambi Ziambi is currently on oxygen. He's extremely sick as we speak, according to media reports. So these people are not wearing masks. They're not socially distancing. And this is not political. The leaders in ZANU-PF, they made a serious mistake, and it's wiping them out. It's not, this is not a joke. This is a very serious thing, because you can see that these are the older guys at the end here. These are the guys who are dying. And when you die, you infect other people. So the ministers have got bodyguards. The bodyguards have got mothers and fathers. So it's a super spreader event. If you have a situation like this, where people have a party. Similarly, Kudata Gurei, according to my understanding, he is on oxygen. He also had his own party. And as I said, the other people who died were at that meeting, that central committee meeting. So SB Moyo went to Vic Falls. He was also at the central committee. Ellen Goradzimba was there at the central committee. And also, I think General Zimondi here, if I'm not mistaken, those kind of people, they will be at that kind of meeting where senior ZANU-PF members came together for a reason or the other. Similarly, if you look at the extraordinary congress of the MDCT, that was a super spreader event. Dr. Thokozani Kupe walking into that crowd, shouting without a mask, people fighting each other. This was a mess. So we had a number of super spreader events in December. We also had the situation at Bedbridge, where a lot of people were lining up. Some people went into Zimbabwe, some people went into South Africa and then came back. So you end up with a serious foundation for the decimation of ZANU-PF. So ZANU-PF is going to be the most affected because their leaders, they were in places where they were not supposed to be. The Victoria Falls meeting, that was not supposed to happen. The Central Committee meeting on 30 December, that was not supposed to happen. People like Patrick Chinamasa, they got coronavirus. People like Chino Timba, they got coronavirus from there. If you look at Defense Minister Opam Chinguri, she got coronavirus from there. So everybody in ZANU-PF, the senior people in ZANU-PF, got affected. And if you now look at SB Moyo, he would have come back and met people like Idi Mnangagwa and Kembo Mohadi. What this means is that this top crop of ZANU-PF, Idi Mnangagwa, General Chiwenga, Kembo Mohadi, they were all exposed to coronavirus because of the people that had moved around the country. And my understanding is that the First Lady, Auxilia Mnangagwa, got coronavirus and had to go into isolation. So now, if the First Lady got coronavirus, what are the chances that the president got coronavirus? It's quite possible that he did get coronavirus. So we have a situation here where you can blame other people, but the problem is actually in the way that the government of Zimbabwe is handling coronavirus. They were not taking this thing very, very seriously. They did a lockdown. They arrested a few people, but they were not taking it seriously among themselves. And now ZANU-PF is going to pay a heavy price for the actions that they did in December. So throughout January and February, you're going to be seeing a lot in ZANU-PF. I expect above the 4 ministers that have already died, a number to follow, because they exposed themselves and they need now to take further precautions, especially for the guys that are not healthy. If you're not healthy, if you catch coronavirus, you cannot survive. It's a very powerful virus. Now, I want to almost end this. It's a Sunday, so I don't want to stay for long. I want to look at what is likely to happen. Let's say if we have a situation where the president or one of his deputies dies, because Zimbabwe is so polarized, even in ZANU-PF there are factions, but you can immediately see that the politics of Zimbabwe is changing. This virus has changed the politics of Zimbabwe. The factions in ZANU-PF very soon won't have those factions, especially if people continue to die. However, Idi Mnangagwa needs to start planning, succession planning. Imagine now we have to replace 4 ministers. Imagine how many people need to be replaced in parastatals, in government departments. It is a bad situation that we have in Zimbabwe. And it's only in Zimbabwe that this is happening this way. If you look here in South Africa, people are dying, but not the way it is happening. Like 4 ministers in a week. That is a warning sign. Something needs to be done very, very quickly. Idi Mnangagwa needs to do succession planning, crisis management, because we might end up without a government. If we get, let's say we finish this second wave, and we get into another third wave, which is stronger than this one, you may wake up one day to see you've got no government at all. Things are not functional. No one is going to want to come to the office when they know that they could die. And the moment things don't happen, you basically don't have a government. If you remember at the beginning of this year, I said the lockdown could last up to 2 years, and it could end up in the postponement of the 2023 elections. Take this very, very seriously. This virus, especially in Zimbabwe, it can wreak havoc. Imagine the way chiefs are dying, regional people. So the impact of this virus is going to be far-reaching, and it's going to change everything in Zimbabwe. So if I was Idi Mnangagwa, I would improve my crisis management, succession planning, and then I would depolarize all this politics in Zimbabwe. This is not the time to be politicking, because a lot of people are going to be dying. Now, let's look at COVID-19 will win the election in Zimbabwe. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying that if COVID kills people, then there will be change in Zimbabwe. You'll be surprised that the COVID could kill your favorite politician. So don't play with that one. It's a very dangerous virus. It kills anybody. That's why I say we need to depolarize this environment in Zimbabwe. People need to move fast to make sure that people are focused on treatment and not on anything else. Then ZANU-PF is very ignorant about this virus. I'm sure they now have learned from their big mistake. Yes, this is true. As I said, ZANU-PF made a lot of mistakes in December. They are going to damage themselves, their whole party. But it's not going to end on a ZANU-PF person. You will see that people who are not in ZANU-PF are going to die. Because the people that are dying now, they infected other people. So every 28 days, you're going to see more and more people dying. And if people in MDCT start dying, or in MDC Alliance start dying, you will see more people in that cluster. People who spend time together, they will start dying also. So it's not only about ZANU-PF, it's about everybody. You can also die if you're an MDC. So let us take care of this thing. I started this discussion long back. If you don't have a proper lockdown, if you don't sanitize, if you don't wear your mask, like what the Mtangwa guys were doing, go to a party and you don't wear a mask like this. Look, 2 of these people, one has died and one is already in intensive care. So if you don't do that, what will end up happening is you will die. It doesn't matter whether you're ZANU-PF or MDC. However, our politics is going to change. We are at a point where everything is about to change. If someone in the presidium dies, it's even worse. So these guys have to take extreme care of themselves, because Idi Mnangagwa, General Chiwenga, Kembo Mahadi, you can see these guys are quite old. They're not young. What do you do if, for example, your whole presidium is wiped out? You see, you now have a problem that is very, very difficult to solve. You have a situation that could end up in anarchy, because what is the succession plan there? Who is going to replace SB Moyo? Who is going to replace Gwarazimba? You know, these questions, they need to be answered, and they need to be answered very, very fast. So obviously, to me, very, very important, the meeting between SB Moyo and General Chiwenga in Victoria Falls and Rujege. I think that meeting was a very bad mistake, and it probably cost SB Moyo his life. And General Chiwenga is in danger because he went and slept in the hotel room, the presidential suite, where SB Moyo was staying. So SB Moyo left that hotel and said, President, stay here in the presidential suite. I'm going to go to the Elephant Hills. So now you have someone who died of coronavirus, and your vice president was staying in the room where they spent all their 2 to 3 days. So let's watch what happens to General Chiwenga in the next 3 to 4 weeks and see if there was any effect of him staying in that room. Right. So I think for today, this is all I wanted to say. Super spreader events in ZANU-PF, 4 of them. And the impact is being felt as we speak. People dying. Obviously, there were those conspiracy theories to say that there was a vaccine. I don't think that is correct. Also, the issue of doctors killing ZANU-PF leaders, I don't think that's correct. But we'll find out, because there is a person called Skilled Rebara, a Twitter handle called JT87. And they're saying he was tweeting in a way that showed that doctors are killing ZANU-PF leaders. I don't think that's the case. We'll hear from Kudamsa Siwa, because Kudamsa Siwa was treated by that doctor. So let's see if we'll find out who it was and what is the story behind Skilled Rebara. So I think that is all I wanted to say for today. And let's keep watching the situation in Zimbabwe. Very, very bad situation. We could lose a few more ministers within the next 2 weeks. And we could even lose more people at a lower level, resulting in a probable collapse of government. Because the people who are dying, they're in ZANU-PF, and they were central committee members. So most of them are very senior in government, and also at provincial level, they're very senior. In parastatals, very, very senior people. Also, we need to watch what happens to Kudata Gwirei. What is going to happen? Is he going to show up? Are we going to see him anytime soon? Right, that's all I wanted to say for today. And thank you very much for watching. We'll talk again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be having Mr. Tinashe Jonas. Let's see what to talk about tomorrow. Maybe we could have an interesting look at some of the developments that are happening in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, and